Welcome back to the mushroom. Back after over a month. Yeah, it's been a while. You may notice the audio quality is a little bit better. Maybe you haven't noticed. I don't know how much you personally notice audio quality, but I'm back on my good mic because we finished my room renovation. I have new furniture, I have wallpaper. It looks really nice and I'm very happy with it. We haven't changed my room up since like high school, so now it feels more my style, my current style. And I'm really happy with it. And so now I have a nice big desk. It's a corner desk. I have so much desk space. And I can mount my nice mic and record my podcast. If we had like a video version of the podcast, you'd be able to see it, but I don't think I want that, because then you'd also see me and you'd see that I'm in my pajamas because it is a Saturday morning. And yeah, I don't know if I want the world to see me like this. I hope you're doing well. Today's kind of a difficult episode for me to record. And if you're hearing this portion, that means that I decided to have my friends on as guests later in the episode. But first I want to get through my own personal thoughts. And if you're not hearing this, then I decided to cut it out and just post my own thoughts and not record with my friends. I want to start off by giving my own thoughts, but I'm sure at this point you've seen the title of the podcast episode, maybe the description, and I want to give a warning. If you think this is going to trigger you in any way, listening to me talk about like struggles with food and body image, eating, not like any specific eating disorders, but just like eating, maybe possible eating disorders, but nothing specific, and just like body image and insecurity and that kind of stuff, then don't listen if that's like a trigger for you. And I'll also link some resources in the description in case you do listen and you want help with that, because this podcast episode isn't supposed to be a replacement for help in that aspect. It's just my own thoughts and my experiences. Okay, so let's get into it. Now this is a topic that I haven't really brought up in therapy yet, so you're getting something fresh and new. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, because I don't have any like professional advice in this matter. I do have therapy next week, but I have some other things that I want to talk about, and this is kind of like an ongoing issue with me that I don't think is necessarily something that I can fix in like a quick session. So I think we live in a society that puts a lot of pressure on women and people in general to be in shape, and aka that means thin, but not too thin. They don't want to see your bones, but maybe a little bit of your bones, you know? Just look like slightly malnourished, and that's like the look these days. And a few years ago, I think the look that was in is like the small waist, flat stomach, big butt, and big boobs. But I think recently that's going out of style, and we're going back to the supermodel thin days of the 90s. Thanks to, like, you know, the supermodels. Bella Hadid, Kendall Jenner, those long, skinny girls who, like, personally, I don't look anything like. I identified more with the Kardashians, but before the plastic surgery, like when they were just naturally curvy. And then now they've kind of become caricatures of what they used to look like, and no longer realistic or inspiring to me personally. And now we're back to, I think we're slowly shifting back to this like thin supermodel ideals. And I don't know. I think I like talking to a lot of friends my age, like early 20s, mid 20s. We kind of, honestly, every woman, girl that I've talked to that I mentioned, like, that I've gained weight in the past few years, they've all agreed with me and said that they have too, and it's like a huge insecurity for all of us. So I think this podcast episode has been a long time coming, because it makes me feel better to know that I'm not the only one struggling out there. And if you haven't had such reassuring conversations with your friends, then I hope this episode can serve as that. And you can rest assured that you're not alone. Because my personal belief is that this is like a really common thing as you transition from teenager to adult. You gain weight, like your metabolism is slowing down. And maybe your eating habits haven't changed yet, haven't caught up with your slowing metabolism, or you've gotten into a relationship and that has its own implications, you know? You start going out to eat with your partner, because that's like most dates are to restaurants, right? I mean, not in COVID, but still, like, you spend time with your loved one over food most often. And the more time you spend with them, the more food you eat. And I noticed in my previous relationship, that was when I think I gained the most weight. I definitely had gained weight on my own since high school. But then when I got into my relationship, I also definitely gained weight. And it was because I noticed that my eating had definitely increased. Like, I used to, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get into specifics and like shame or inadvertently shame people or make people feel bad that maybe like I eat less than them or I eat more than them. But let's just say that I personally noticed that I would eat less, or I used to eat less before my relationship, and then in my relationship I would be able to eat more in one sitting definitely, before getting full. And I think that's just, I don't know, like dating a man who eats more, or a person who eats more than me, I kind of shifted to mirror them in their eating habits. And, you know, I'm smaller in frame than that person, and that same amount of food going into my body is maybe provides more energy than my body needs and then gets stored as weight, right? And I'm not here to say like that it's a bad thing. What I'm trying to tackle in this episode is the mental aspect of it. Suddenly, in the span of like a year, I looked much different than how I looked before. And not even that much different, but I felt different. Like I would sit down and, you know, when you sit down and like your thighs get squished and they get like 3 times bigger and your stomach like sits on your thighs now. That was kind of like where I would notice little by little I was getting bigger. And I used to, like in high school, summer, right? Sometimes it gets really hot. So you wear, or I would wear like short shorts, and they wouldn't be high waisted. They would be like low rise short shorts with a crop top, because I didn't feel ashamed to like show off my body. And I was thin. I had always been curvy, but like I was thin. Like I had a flat stomach in high school. And the short shorts and the crop top didn't look like weird, you know? It just looked like, oh, she has a thin stomach. Nothing to look at here, right? But then over time, I would have these same items of clothing in my closet every summer. I'd pull them out, and all of a sudden I feel way too exposed in these short shorts and this crop top. And I'm like, did I like change my perspective? Like, do I feel like too provocative now? Like, it's not like I'm like a middle-aged lady now, you know? I'm still young. Like, I was maybe like 20 when this started. But I just felt like so provocative all of a sudden. When before I was just like a teenager with my stomach out, and it wasn't a big deal to me. But all of a sudden, like I think, and I looked in the mirror, I'm like, this doesn't look right. Like either like my boobs have gotten bigger and I just look like too sexy, but also my stomach was not hanging, but it was like bigger. It was bigger. And I just felt like I don't want to show all this now all of a sudden. And I would, before in high school, I would see people, because the crop top trend was coming in, right? And then I would see people with high-waisted shorts or high-waisted pants wearing crop tops. And I'm like, I don't know, I would think back in the day, the point of the crop top is to like show off your stomach. Like people shouldn't be ashamed of this. Just show it off. Who cares? But then I started changing my opinion as I no longer had a flat stomach, and I would feel uncomfortable showing it off, and now I would opt for the high-waisted shorts, jeans, you know, to like, because when you sit down and you're wearing something low rise, obviously your stomach hangs over it. But when you're wearing something high-waisted, it like covers it up and you still feel like nice and all tucked in. And so now all of a sudden I kept wearing the crop tops, but now I'm wearing high-waisted stuff. Because like personally I just like crop tops. I feel like I have like a long, in proportion to my body, my torso is like a normal size, but my legs are short. So then I feel like the crop top evens out the proportions. But that's just my own like interpretations of my body. And so all of a sudden, like, I wasn't wearing these low-rise shorts. And they would sit on the bottom of my pile of shorts, would never go to them anymore. And eventually, like, I just tossed them all out. And now, like, most of my wardrobe is high-waisted stuff. I think it looks good and I'm happy with it. But I do, like, kind of think back to those days and wonder, like, how did I get away with that? And that's not to say that I think I look bad now or I looked bad then. I think I just look different. And it's something that's so hard to wrap my head around because I liked how I looked then. But now that I look different, it's a matter of getting used to how I look now and appreciating how I look now. Because when you're like, let's say like a hair color, you like blonde hair on you, but then all of a sudden, against your will, it starts getting darker and darker and darker, and now you're a brunette. And like, you could still look perfectly fine as a brunette, but you're so used to being blonde that now you're like, well, this happened beyond my control. And now I either dye it back blonde, but that's like, in that metaphor, obviously, I'm talking about like dieting or plastic surgery, like some drastic measure to get from B back to A, right? I don't know if you're following. But you either accept your new brunette hair or you dye it back to blonde to try to achieve that previous ideal that you had. And I don't think I really noticed a problem with my self-perception of my body until I went through the breakup in July. And that's when, I mean, slightly before the breakup, I had downloaded a calorie counting app because I wanted to lose weight, and I made that decision. And it wasn't a lot of weight. I think I wanted to lose like a few kilograms, like a few pounds, right? And I started counting my calories. I started inputting like each meal, each like aspect of my meal so that I would be as accurate as possible. And I did that for maybe a month, and I did lose weight slowly. I tried to do it like as health consciously as I could. So I didn't like limit any food. I didn't cut like sugar, or I didn't go keto or anything. I just counted calories. And it worked. And I lost like maybe a kilogram or two. And I felt better about myself. But it came at that cost, right? Like, I couldn't just eat whatever I wanted. And I couldn't just, like, if I craved one type of food, I had to either eat like a quarter of the serving in order to fit within my daily calorie allotment, or I had to, like, when I ordered a burrito, I would order the burrito bowl, and I would get extra protein because I wanted more protein in my diet. And then I also would only eat half, and I'd save the other half for the next day. So it was kind of like, what's the word? Ergonomic. economical. So it did like save money because all of a sudden one meal became spread over 2 days. But I don't think I was happy doing that and tracking every single thing that I ate. And I think if I work back to the cause of me even wanting to start doing that in the first place, was that I felt trapped in my relationship and I felt insecure because my partner at the time never complimented me. And I knew something was off in the relationship, but I couldn't put my finger on it, and it became, I couldn't put my finger on it, and I just felt like the only thing different that I've done in the past 2 years since we started dating for him to lose interest in me is that I've gained weight. And so maybe that's it, and maybe he'll have more interest in me again if I lose the weight and I get back to where I was when we started dating. So I started counting calories. I started trying to lose weight to get back to where I was before, to try to get his attention back and try to get him to look at me the same way that he did when we started. And I mean, that's a sad reality. That's what it was. And even at the time, I did realize it. I would make comments in front of him like, oh, because I've gained weight. Oh, because I'm fat, blah, blah, blah. And he never, I mean, he would like kind of say like, oh, no, you haven't. Like, don't be stupid. I can't even tell. But it wasn't enough. It was just him like calling me crazy again. It wasn't him complimenting me. So I thought, okay, well, I guess he doesn't know it, but he subconsciously knows. And I'm going to get back to my original weight, and he's going to look at me like that again. And then he broke up with me anyway. So that caused me to spiral. And this was subconscious. I stopped counting calories because I realized that I hadn't been eating even close to enough after the breakup for me to even hit that calorie goal. I was barely eating at all. I had to force myself to eat food every day. And that lasted a couple weeks. And I had lost a lot of weight in those couple weeks because I just couldn't bring myself to eat. And that's when I realized that my body image was a problem, because despite it coming as a symptom of depression after the breakup, and definitely not a sign of health, somewhere in the back of my mind, I was proud of myself for losing weight so quickly and looking so thin. And I would pass off as a joke, like, oh, look, I'm skinny again. Like, I lost that relationship weight already. 2 weeks later and he's gone. My body doesn't even look like I've been in a relationship. And like, just thinking about it, I was like, fuck. That's not good. Like, if my friend had just gone through the type of breakup that I had gone through and lost that much weight in that short period of time, I would be worried about her. And I had people worried about me. Like, they're like, you need to eat. Like, the fact that you're not eating, that's not a good sign. And I would just laugh it off. But in the back of my head, I was proud of myself. And if I'm honest, that's not the first time. Because in grade 10, I had gotten my wisdom teeth removed. This may sound like it's not related, but it is, I promise. In grade 10, I had my wisdom teeth removed before they had come out because I was doing Invisalign. And my orthodontist said that if I don't get my wisdom teeth removed before they start coming out, that once they come out, they're gonna ruin all the orthodontic work I'd had done. So I had them removed, like, as a precaution. And I had gone under for the surgery. I had been put under general anesthesia. And then I had my wisdom teeth removed and all went fine. But for the next entire week, somehow, like, it was either the anesthesia or the pain meds that I was on, but I couldn't eat. I couldn't hold food down for an entire week. I was nauseous for an entire week. I don't know what happened, but I couldn't get out of bed. I was weak. And that week, that summer of grade 10, I had lost a lot of weight. And I remember those same thoughts crossed my mind. The same thoughts of, like, wow, I'm skinny now. Look at me. I'm proud of myself, you know? And that week, from that grade 10 summer, has been living in my head for years. And I always think back to that week thinking, if I ever want to lose weight, that's all I have to do. I just have to not eat for a week. And that's the easy way to get back to whatever weight I was. If I'm however many pounds overweight, all I have to do is starve myself for a week or two and then I'll be back. And it's an easy reset. That's all I have to do. And I found that mindset had returned after that breakup. And that's a sad thing to admit. And it's a scary thing to admit. And I haven't told my therapist about this yet. But I don't know if it's like a sign of it's like an eating disorder. I don't think it's like that serious yet, but it could be if I don't change something about my mindset, which I'm trying to do. And eventually I'll bring it up to my therapist. I will, don't worry. It's just that I'm dealing with other things that kind of take priority right now. And I only have an hour with her, so only so many things get to be brought up at once. But therapy is a journey, right? So don't worry, eventually I'll get there. And the fact that I'm talking about it now is a huge step because for years I just kind of ignored it. I didn't think it was a problem, and now I know it's a problem. And it's hard. It's hard because I always thought that I was fine. That I was happy with my body. I was proud. I would stand in front of the mirror naked and I would be like, okay, I like this. I like what we're working with. We're all good. But then I would step on the scale and the number on the scale would not make me feel good. No matter how I looked in the mirror, no matter how happy I was with how I looked in the mirror, I would look on the scale, the number on the scale, and And I would keep thinking back to like, I don't know, just like idealized, but this is like, maybe this is like a niche comparison, but I would read a lot of like YA novels as a teen, and like a lot of times the protagonist is like described as like a short girl, like 5'4", and she's 110 pounds, and I'm 5'3", and I'm not even close to 110. Not even close. So I'd look in the mirror and I'd be like, okay, I look good, I look fine. But then I step on the scale and I'm like, holy shit, that's not even close to 110. I don't know, like, are men not gonna look at me how I want, you know? And not even like, don't come at me for not being a feminist, okay? But it's just, I'm telling you, these are like subconscious thoughts, intrusive thoughts that come in. But it's like, I don't know, who is 110? Like, is Bella Hadid 110 pounds? I don't know. I don't know how much she weighs, but like, how, I don't know, like just being short and being curvy, I think is a hard thing to grasp for me. That's why like I would always look at Kim Kardashian because she's like 5'2" or something, and she's so curvy, and I really don't think she's 110 pounds. Definitely not. But I would look at her back before all the crazy plastic surgery and liposuction and whatever, and I would look at her and be like, okay, like everyone thinks she's hot, so you know, big butts are not like something to be ashamed of. Everyone seems to like them these days, so I should be good. But now it's like the tall, skinny girl again who's in style. And like, yeah, Kim Kardashian is still hot, but she's like, she's not the it girl anymore. And it like, saying all this stuff out loud, I feel so stupid, but like, we all know that we think these things, right? Maybe not everybody, maybe not everyone's agreeing with me right now, but there are people out there who agree with what I'm saying, as much as we don't want to. Because trust me, I do not want to think the way that I think, but I do, and I'm trying to change it. But it's a work in progress. And so, it's been tough because ever since I admitted to myself that I have this issue and I have this problem, I think that's the hardest thing to do, is just like once and for all, like stating, even if it's just to yourself, because I haven't said it to anybody at that point. Like since then I've told my friends that I think I have this issue, and I've told my mom, and now I'm telling you. But the hardest step was telling myself and like actually admitting it, because now at least I can take steps to fix my way of thinking. It definitely requires fixing. I don't think this is an issue that I can fix by losing weight and feeling good about myself, because that's not going to fix the core of the problem. The core of the problem is being afraid of change. Afraid of getting old and afraid of not being in my prime anymore. I've started like using anti-aging stuff anti-aging serums, retinol oils, because I want to like prevent wrinkles as often or as early as I can. Because that's what they say, you have to like invest in your skin early in your early 20s so that you can thank yourself when you're like in your 40s. And I'm afraid of getting old and not looking the way that I do now or the way I did when I was a teenager. I look at pictures of myself when I was like graduating high school, and even just like my shoulders look skinnier. Like my frame just looks like there's less on it, you know? My legs are an insecurity of mine. I think they're like oddly like muscular, despite like me not being anywhere close to athletic. I think they're just like curvy, in the calf area and the knees and the thighs. Everything's just like big. um and I feel like I have to dress around my legs sometimes. Like I really didn't like wearing baggier pants or looser fitting pants because I always thought that they make my legs look fatter than they are. So I would always wear skinny jeans, leggings, like skinny pants to try to make my legs look skinny, because if I wore loose pants like boyfriend jeans or now flared pants are back in style, it would just like highlight how fat they look. And it's so stupid to say out loud, but like and it was like this year, because flared jeans are back in style, I bought myself a pair. I bought myself a pair of mom jeans. I put them on when I was skinnier in the summer after the breakup, and I was super confident. And then we went back into quarantine, and then I gained all the weight back that I lost in the summer after the breakup, and I think even more. And then I put the jeans back on because I started going back into the lab just recently, and they fit like I used to in the summer. Okay, scratch this, but before the breakup, when I was at my heaviest, I bought jeans in a size higher than I would previously buy jeans, because I decided, okay, I'm just going to accept my body now, and I'm going to get rid of all my skinnier jeans that don't fit me anymore, and I'm going to size up, and I'm just going to purge my wardrobe, and I'm just going to try to accept my new weight, because I am not 18 anymore, you know? I am 23. I'm almost 24. And this is my new weight. I'm not going to be the same weight that I was when I was 18, and I don't think I'm ever going to be. So let's just accept it, and let's buy pants of my correct size. So then I lost the weight, and then I was back to the size down, and the new jeans didn't fit me anymore because they were a size up, and I had to wear a belt with them, and I had to cut a hole in the belt because the belt was too small, or the belt was too big. I had to cut a hole in it to make it fit my waist, and I was proud of myself. I looked in the mirror and I was like, wow, look at me. I look so good in these loose pants. I don't feel fat in it. I don't feel fat in them. And look at me, I'm skinny, I'm Kendall Jenner. Okay, even though I'm 5'3". And now that I'm putting on these same jeans, it's not July anymore. I'm not skinny as I was back then. It's February, and I put those jeans back on, and they fit. I guess I was going to say tight, but they fit how they're supposed to fit because they are a size up, and now that's my current size. And they still look good. They still look good. I put them on in front of the mirror. I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, okay, you still look good. Moving on. I didn't even have to wear a belt that day. And one great piece of advice that I got from my friend, I don't know if she wants me to put her name, but she gave me a tip, and she said, my advice is don't step on the scale. Stop stepping on the scale. And that sounds like really rudimentary, and it works, let me tell you. I look in the mirror and I'm happy with how I look, and I didn't even think that I gained weight until I put those same pants back on, because in the mirror I felt great. I even thought I lost weight. And then I put the pants back on and I was like, oh, never mind. I gained weight, but I don't know the number, so I feel fine. Even if I'm my heaviest now that I've ever been, I don't know. And I feel fine, and I feel good, and I feel confident. And it doesn't matter what number it is. Like, my weight would fluctuate by like pounds, several pounds, even just in one day, from what I ate, from if I pooped that day, if I peed. I would literally, my family has a scale in the bathroom, and I would weigh myself before a poop and after a poop to see how much my weight was affected by my poop, so that I could mentally subtract that number from my weight so I could feel better about myself. And I would do it before a pee, after a pee. See how much I peed, if it made a difference of my weight. And that's like psychotic. But like, it stems from my mom and her mom, and just generations of worrying about your weight. Like, my mom goes on diet after diet. My grandma talks about like, oh, I'm on a diet, don't give me sweets, whatever. Like, just diet culture has been in my life my entire life. And my dad goes on diets. He's like, oh, I'm going keto now because I'm too fat, blah 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 blah. And like, sure, maybe at that age and at a certain weight it becomes unhealthy and you have to worry about your health. But when my mom is getting ready for a night out and she's putting on like a shirt and it has to be flowy because she doesn't want it to show her belly, like, and I have to watch her from a young age, like, be insecure about her body and try to hide it. Maybe, like, obviously she didn't think it would affect me, but now that I'm an adult and I start to see that I have the exact same body type as her, it does affect me. And I know that it affects them too. My mom, my grandma, the women in my family. It's also probably a cultural thing. I think Europeans are, even more than Americans, focused on being thin. And in Europe, the beauty standard is like tall, long, thin legs and big boobs. And that's like nowhere close to me or my family's body size or body image, body type. And the women in my family have always tried to stay thin, but it doesn't work, you know? That's not in our genetics. We're we have wide set hips. We're never gonna have small butts no matter how skinny we are. That's just that's the way it rolls, you know? You can't really look like a supermodel sometimes unless you have supermodel genetics. And it sucks. It's a mindset. Like, because you're so insecure about yourself, like, this is like chronic in my family. Like, you just hear them make comments about like people on TV, like whether they're fat or skinny or beautiful or ugly or whatever. Maybe their nose is too big. Like, you hear comments all the time like, oh, she shouldn't wear her makeup like that, it makes her nose look big. Or she shouldn't wear that outfit because it makes her butt look big. And it's like, these comments are ingrained in me from a young age because I would hear them all the time, and then you internalize it because you think, well, if they're so critical of strangers, then strangers must be this critical about me. And so I have to look perfect so that I don't get criticized by strangers or my own family members. And it sucks. It sucks because I also notice myself doing the same thing. Like, as much as I'm like ragging on people in my family making comments, like, it becomes second nature to me. And I'll say stuff like that even in my own head about people. And I don't want to. Like, now I'm realizing it's a problem, so I'm trying to stop myself. But it comes out sometimes, like when I have a conversation with my friends about body image, body weight, whatever. I'll make comments about people because it's an insecurity of mine. So I'm trying to make myself feel better by talking shit about other people. And I don't want to. Like, afterwards I regret it, but it's just like I'm not thinking of it at the time. And then it even comes out subconsciously when I don't mean to be critical. I'll talk about my own body to my friends, and I'll say like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight because blah, 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 I look fat. But then it comes off to them, even though I don't mean it. I'm sure that they take it the same way that I took it when my mom talked about her body in front of the mirror. She in no way was talking about my body, but then I started being critical of my body because of the comments she would make about herself. And I started to realize, like, I think I'm doing that to my friends. When I talk about my body, it makes them think about their bodies. Or it makes them think that I think of their bodies in that way. You know? Like, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but like, let's say, I don't know, like you have a big butt and you're like, oh, I wish my butt was bigger because it's kind of like flat, whatever. And then your friend has a smaller butt than you. And then they hear you commenting about how your butt isn't big enough. And they're like, well, my butt's even smaller. So she must think I have the worst butt in the world. And I don't think that. Like, I think my friends are beautiful. I don't look at them, negatively. But I look at myself like that. And I comment on strangers like that. And that's what they think too, I'm sure. And it sucks to think that I've hurt them in that way, or if I've contributed to like any sort of negative body image of theirs. Like, it sucks for me to think that and come to grips with that. So I'm trying my best to I'm trying my best to change my mindset, and it is a work in progress. It is going to take time because you're like trying to retrain your brain to think a different way. And the first step that helped me was to purge my closet of all the things that were too small on me. Get rid of them. You're done. That stage of your life is over. They're probably out of style anyway. You know, you need to update to your true size, update to the new style. Okay. All that stuff that you wore in high school is out of style anyway. You're gonna look out of style, and it's too tight on you, and just get rid of it. You're gonna look better in your new size, and people won't even notice. Okay, if you look good in something that fits you, people won't notice that you look bigger or that you are bigger or whatever. So just get something that fits you. You'll feel better. The number is scary. Going up a number, just numbers in general are scary. Going up a number in a size is scary. I guess unless it's like a bra. But then, you know, you go from like a C to a D and you're like, ooh, I'm a D now. Look at me. But then the band size goes up and you're like, oh my God, I went from a 34 to a 36. Numbers are scary. So maybe they should do letters instead, because D sounds better than a C. So maybe if my pant size went from a C to a D, I would feel better. Because then it's like, I don't know, it makes me think like my butt is bigger, not my entire lower half is like went from like a whatever to a 6 to an 8. I don't know. And yeah, so second step is don't step on the scale. And that goes back to like numbers being scary. I think I've had to get over that, and I have to just like stop thinking about the numbers and start looking at myself objectively. Or subjectively. Yeah, I think subjectively is the better word. If I look at myself in the mirror and I'm happy with how I look, and being happy with how you look also is because of, you know, wearing the right size. Wear the right size, regardless if it's a size up, okay? Wear the right size and look in the mirror and be happy with how you look. Don't look at the scale. And I guess that's all I have to say. Oh, I also want to say, in terms of calorie counting, I don't know if I endorse it or if I don't endorse it, because what it did show me that was kind of a positive is that I think a lot of the reason of why I was gaining weight is not just because I was eating more, but also because I was starving myself. Because I did get to a point where I'd be working long days in the lab, and I'd eat like a small breakfast in the morning, because breakfast doesn't really work for my body. Like, I don't feel hungry in the morning, so I have to like force myself to get something down, because then I would spend like 10, 12-hour days in the lab, sometimes 13-hour days. And sometimes I wouldn't eat, because like you have experiments running, you have to like go from one experiment to another experiment, you're doing things all day, you're on your feet all day. sometimes you don't have the time to take a lunch break. And sometimes you do have time to eat lunch, but it's just a quick little granola bar in the middle of the day, something quick that doesn't require you to sit down. And then I'd come home and I'd eat dinner. But what I learned from the app is that a homemade dinner, like whatever it is, when it's not fast food, it's only like 700 calories, you know? And then when I count the granola bar, which is like sometimes 100, 150, and whatever I had in the morning, like sometimes that barely broke 1,000 calories a day. And the fact that I was gaining weight at that time, that just like, honestly, when I started counting calories, I actually had to force myself to eat more to reach that calorie amount that it told me to reach. There is a sweet spot with calories that you need to hit. And if you eat more, you're going to gain weight. But if you eat less, you can gain weight. It depends on your body. I think it has to do with stress hormones. You put your body into a state of stress. You release cortisol. And it makes you store whatever tiny amount of food you get to eat throughout the day. It makes you store it because it makes your body think that you are in starvation mode and you need to make the most of anything you put into your body. So then when you do eat something that is higher in calories, you're still in starvation mode. So your body hoards that and it stores it, and then you can gain weight. So I definitely advise against under eating. Big time. Personally, it makes me gain weight, and it also it sucks. It's a bad way of living. It's a bad lifestyle. It's bad on the mind, and it sucks. Just do not undereat, okay? If I know like maybe this isn't like anything new to you, but you can gain weight from undereating. So if you're confused as to maybe why you're overweight and you feel like you don't eat enough throughout the day and you're like, why am I still overweight? Please just try to eat more. Like it may seem counterintuitive, but sometimes that's just what you have to do. And so what I've been doing instead of counting calories recently throughout quarantine is intuitive eating, and it's less of a diet and more of just listening to your body and eating when you're hungry and then stopping eating once you're full. Because I think a lot of us are also trained to finish your plate, empty your plate. It shows like whoever served you that you enjoyed the meal, right? And it feels bad when you don't finish everything. But if you feel yourself getting full, stop eating. But also eat when you're hungry. So the concept is that your body knows what it needs and you just have to learn to listen to it. And I think this is what's been working for me and my mental health and also my physical health. Listen to your body. If you have a craving for something, listen to it. It's just like, I don't know if you've heard, it's like the mental disorder pica, but people eat dirt and clay and other minerals, like inedible stuff, because they crave it and their body craves dirt because it is missing iron. It's low in iron or calcium or whatever mineral they're missing, and so their body is craving that, and so they're eating dirt to supplement it. So spin that concept on its head and eat whatever you're craving at the time. So for me, my body craves cheese. I love cheese, cheesy things. I'll add cheese to anything. And I also like meat. I like steak, like a really good steak. But I don't like the fat on steak. So I think I might just need the iron and probably the fat and protein and cheese. And I like milk a lot. I crave milk sometimes. So maybe calcium. So just think of your body as not just a machine, but kind of like its own person. It knows what it needs and give it what it needs. But then like stop feeding it when it tells you it's full. And also same thing with water. Definitely stay hydrated. My body has, I mean, honestly, it's just me. I have learned to listen to my body better now. And I keep like a tumbler full of water with a straw. It's like the easiest way to get water down throughout the day, for me at least. If it has a straw, so much easier. So throughout the day, I'll be like sipping on water, and you'll be surprised how much water you get down, honestly, when you have a cup with a straw. So go to like Starbucks. I found this tumbler in Michael's. Get yourself a tumbler with a straw, fill it with water, sip on it throughout the day, and when it's empty, go refill it. You'll be honestly surprised how much water you get through, and then you'll be surprised how much you crave water. And those are my tips. Obviously, like, I'm still working through all of this, and I'm trying to be okay with how I look because I know it's gonna change, and that's something that I have to get used to. I can't just be proud of my body the way it is now. I can't just look at it and say, wow, I'm so happy with how I look. Like, you need that, but you need something on top of it. And that you need an asterisk next to it. And that asterisk has to lead to the fine print at the bottom. And it says, I will be happy with how I look as I age too. And no matter how I look. I'm starting to get like gray hairs. I found my first gray hair a couple years ago. And like now it's like kind of uncountable. I don't want to count how many I have. I think it might have gone to like the double digits. And they're like scattered. And I'm kind of toying with the idea of just letting myself naturally go gray. I think women with naturally gray hair look so majestic, but like me, I don't know, like it's so hard when it's you. But I think I might let that happen. I don't know, we're gonna see. Obviously, like, shit changes quicker than you expect. I actually had planned since high school that at age 25 I'm gonna cut my hair into a bob. But I turned 23 and I cut my hair into a bob. So I can't have a plan for my life. Maybe I'll go gray naturally. We'll see what happens, what I decide to do. If I do dye my hair, we'll see what happens. And it'll be exciting. And I mean, I have like, I think like one wrinkle on my forehead and maybe like some laugh lines, slight laugh lines starting. But yeah, I think the point is, well, okay, so I wrote this whole note in my phone. It's super long. Back on October 26th, when I had like it was a really bad day in terms of my body image. And I wrote this whole note because that's when I first came up with the idea for a body image episode. And this was supposed to be like, not like my script, but it was supposed to be kind of just like my thoughts on the matter at that point. Because, okay, so I do think that this is a toxic mindset that I have. And maybe you have it too. And I think the way out of it is to hold yourself accountable. Call it out when you think it. Say it out loud. Because that makes it real, okay? You can't just keep running from it and defending it, saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, I don't have an eating disorder, which is like, I don't know if I do or I don't, but I might be heading down that path if I don't change something. And maybe you think I'm being dramatic, but I think this is the only way to stop myself from heading into that path, is to call myself on it and to say it out loud. I said it to my friends and it made it real. And I think now they keep me accountable. Like, I do hear them ask sometimes if I had eaten that day. It does make me slightly uncomfortable, and I do find my immediate response is to get defensive, but I know that they just care about me. And I care about you. And I want to keep you accountable. Have you eaten today? Did you drink enough water? But yeah, I would say bring your negative thoughts to light if you have like a close friend to confide in. I think having this conversation is tough, but in the end it's worth it. And if you don't have a close friend to confide in, this podcast is here. I have audio messages enabled. I have a Google Forms link in the description that you can write to. It can be anonymous. We can hold each other accountable. If you have negative thoughts, saying them out loud brings them to light and makes them real. And it helps your real self come out beneath those negative thoughts that are not yours. They're society's thoughts. Saying them out loud makes them real, and you can step away from them. They're not yours anymore. I hope that makes sense, because that has helped me. Those negative thoughts are your toxic friend talking to you in your brain, or society, whatever. It's not you. Saying them out loud puts them aside. You can separate yourself from them, and then just toss them out. I also wrote in here back in October that my body is not a trend. It's a niche interest. So I can't keep comparing myself to the it girl of whatever generation is popular. I can't be Kate Moss of the 90s. I can't be Paris Hilton of the early 2000s, or whoever was popular at that time. I can't be Kim Kardashian of the 2010s. I can't be Bella Hadid of the 2020s. I am me, and I am a niche interest that doesn't really change over time. Okay? You have someone who, instead of following all the fashion trends, maybe they just love granny sweaters, and that's their fashion trend of their life, and maybe they don't follow the fashion trends. And I don't know if this is making sense, but to me it's like you have the it girls who are popular, you have the people who look like the it girls of the time, but that stuff falls in and out of fashion. But those people don't change their bodies when body types go in and out of fashion. They just fall out of fashion. Look at Pamela Anderson, okay? She's like super hot, curvy, it girl of the 90s. But then, like, then it was like the skinny girl. But is Pamela Anderson still hot? Yeah. Is her body in style? I mean, you know, not anymore. But she's still hot. So that's kind of like where I have to retrain my mind, is like, I'm still hot. I'm not in style, but I'm still hot. Okay? And there's always going to be someone who enjoys your body. Make yourself one of those people. And then, yeah, I go on to say in the note that I wrote in October, I am not fast fashion. I am a riverbank that the waters of time work to shape. See, and I thought I was dramatic back in high school. I'm still dramatic. Look at me. I'm a riverbank. I was happy in a relationship. I gained happy weight, and then I was sad and I lost it. I am dynamic and changing, and yet I will still always just look like me. Not me of yesterday, but me of right now. And then I wrote, I'm interested to hear what you think. Because I was writing it as a podcast episode. So let me know what you think. You can leave a note, anonymous. You can leave an audio message. You can DM me on Instagram. Tell me in the comments of my post. Let me know what you think. Leave a review on the podcast. On Apple Podcasts, you can leave reviews. Rate it 5 stars, please. Or however many stars you want. Rate it, please. And what I'll do is... now, I'll pull a tarot card. Okay? Just like I did in the last episode, whether you heard it or not, but I will pull a tarot card of the episode. Whenever you're reading this is when this card applies to you. Hopefully. Or whenever you're reading this. No, whenever you're listening to this. Whenever you're listening to this is when this card is supposed to apply to you. So you decided, today I'm listening to this episode. So this card is for you today, whenever it is. So for me, this card is for today. This card came out, the world. The world, okay. The world is the card of this episode and of this day for you. Let me do a quick Google of what it means. I'm not a professional tarot reader yet, but I'm working on it. The world means completion, integration, accomplishment, travel. When the world card appears in a tarot reading, you are glowing with a sense of wholeness, achievement, fulfillment, and completion. A long-term project, period of study, relationship, or career has come full circle, and you are now reveling in the sense of closure and accomplishment. This card could represent graduation, marriage, birth of a child, or achieving a long-held dream or aspiration. You have finally accomplished your goal or purpose, everything has come together, and you are in the right place, doing the right thing, achieving what you have envisioned. You feel whole and complete. Now, the World card invites you to reflect on your journey, honor your achievements, and tune into your spiritual lessons. Celebrate your successes and bask in the joy of having brought your goals to fruition. And then it talks more. This is from Biddy Tarot, by the way, biddytarot.com. You can interpret that as you see fit for your day today. But for me having talked in this episode about my body image, to me, because of the theme of this episode, this card just represents that. I've accomplished a lot just with my journey trying to accept my body. I think I'm in a good place now. And I think appreciating where I've come, all the trials and tribulations I've been through with it, I think it's a good thing to sit back and look at where I've been. It's been tough, but this body has been through a lot, and it will go through a lot, and it's a representation of that. Everything has come full circle. We'll never be back where we started, but we're always working towards completion. Anyway, that's a really good card, so I hope you're having a good day and you've had something happy, successful, complete happen. I haven't been listening to music recently. I know last episode I said I had to have like music recommendations. I don't really know what to recommend now, but I have been listening to podcasts a lot when I'm in the lab. So let me tell you what podcasts I've been listening to. Big Mood is a great podcast. They talk about, it's a bunch of ladies in their 30s talking about life. They have episodes like finding a high value partner. They have some fun like true crime episodes that they've started doing. Life after experiencing a miscarriage. Best way to cope with a breakup. I don't know. It's just like a really fun podcast. I like them. I've been watching them on YouTube for a while, so they started a podcast and I really like them. If you like this podcast, you might enjoy that podcast. It was kind of like an inspiration to start this because they were in their 30s giving advice based on their life in their 20s. And I thought, it's good advice, but I just wish I could connect to it more because I am currently going through it. So I kind of wanted like the perspective of someone in their 20s going through it. So there's my recommendation. There's your tarot card. That should be it. I was going to have friends on this episode, but I think we're running a bit long. I had more to say than I expected. So look out for a future episode with my friends talking about their perspectives on their body image, their experiences, and yeah. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me. Let me know your thoughts. Like I said, you have many ways to let me know. And if you have any questions, you can also leave them, rate the podcast, blah, 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 all the stuff I've said already. And then again, in the description, I'm going to link some resources if you are struggling with this stuff. Maybe those resources can help you. Good luck in everything that you're doing. Good luck in all your personal journeys. And I'll see you next time in the mushroom.